Hey folks, welcome to the Think and Grow Society Hangout webinar. I don't know what we call this officially, but welcome to Friday night with the Think and Grow Society. My name is Glenn Garnes. I want to thank you for taking time out on your Friday night to join us. And tonight happens to be the last in an over 20-week series of workshops that we have done consistently since February. I believe it was February 22nd or 24th of this year. We have been getting together continuously and consistently on Friday nights to have a conversation about what it really takes to be success, to be successful, to achieve success, and to create success. And in some ways, I think that this is going to be perceived by many people as being an end, because it is the last formal session we're going to have. But I believe that for the people who really understand and understood the information that we have shared over this time, that this is truly a beginning. We have simply completed our first reading and understanding of these lessons that have come from Dr. Napoleon Hill, from the Law of who wrote the Law of Success in 16 Lessons, from Charles Haanel, who is the author of the Master Key System, and that's one of the things we're talking about tonight, and the author of The Science of Getting Rich, Wallace Wattles. Now, tonight's lesson is on the two publications that I last mentioned, The Master Key System by Charles Haanel and The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. But in large part, this is also a summary and review of the entire preceding series of lessons, because truly what Dr. Hill communicated in his way is in harmony with, enforcement of, and reflective of the topic for tonight, which is the law of attraction. You see, all three of these authors, in their own way, have been describing the exact same circumstances, the exact same process, the exact same thing, but in their own way. And it all boils down to what is commonly known today as the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is a very simple concept, but it's very difficult for many people to understand it and to embrace it, because it takes a little depth of vision. It takes a willingness to believe in something that actually isn't seen. And what I mean by that is you can't go and look at the law of attraction. You can see the results of the law of attraction. You can see someone who understands and who is implementing the law of attraction, both in their favor and people who are implementing it in a way that's not so much in their favor. But in order for you to see that, you have to understand how the law of attraction works. Now, the truth is that we will not be able to cover tonight every nuance in the law of attraction. The best that I can hope for tonight is to whet your appetite for wanting to take the time to truly confront, to truly immerse yourself in, and to truly embrace the law of attraction, and to actually implement it in your life consciously. Now, what I mean by implementing it consciously is simply this. Whether you know it or not, you have been implementing and working with the law of attraction your entire life. You just have not understood how it works, so you haven't consciously been working with it unless you have developed an understanding of it. And we're going to find out why that is in just a minute. My point to you is that consciously working with the law of attraction is what makes it a friend. It's what makes it a tool. Unconsciously working with it, where you don't even understand it, is what makes it, frankly, dangerous. It's like having a tool and you don't understand how to use the tool, but you are out wielding it. It's like having a sword and not realizing how sharp a sword can be. It's like having a gun and not understanding how a gun can be used to protect, or a gun can be used, to kill. my point to you is that this whole course, this whole gathering on Friday nights has been about equipping you to understand how to use these tools so that the results that you get are deliberate and not by accident. See, nothing really happens by accident. It all happens because of a cause and effect relationship. We perceive it as being accident because we don't understand the cause. And the reason we don't understand the cause is because we're ignorant of how things work. So I want you to write down a few phrases that we're going to be referring to during the course of our chat. The first one is ask, believe, receive. Ask, believe, receive. The next one is one that you saw very prominently used in the Science of Getting Rich publication, which was doing things in a certain way. Doing things in a certain way. The next thing I want you to write down is feel good now. Feel good now. Those are going to be referred to during the course of our chat tonight. And just for the purpose of those of you that are online tonight, let me say this. We're going to probably go a little bit past our 30-minute mark because this is the last session and there is a lot of meat in this session. And truly, it was a challenge for me to deliver enough value with this lesson because there is so much depth in this material. But I do have to terminate this series at some point in time, and so I'm going to do the best that I know how to do with communicating enough of this information to at least get you interested in going into greater depth with it. Nobody can understand the law of attraction in one sitting, and that's why I've made it a life study for myself. Now, I started later in life with it, but what I'm saying is that once I became aware of it, and for me that was back in 2004, once I became aware of the law of attraction, I began making it my mission to study it, understand it, master it, and consistently implement it in my life. And it has taken some time for me to get this right. I'm still getting it right. I'm not perfect at it. I'm a student of the law of attraction just like you should be. So with that in mind, let me first define for you, or let me say this. The Master Key System and the Science of Getting Rich both described the law of attraction from the perspective of each of those authors. The Law of Success in 16 Lessons went a little bit beyond just the law of attraction, but it is very much law of attraction based. And frankly, if you really understand the law of attraction, you see the absolute parallels. Dr. Hill didn't use the terminology law of attraction very frequently, but what he described in his 16 laws was basically a way of thinking, an attitude, a prevailing thought process that is indeed the law of attraction. So what is the law of attraction? The law of attraction is a natural law of the universe. Some people consider it to be the supreme law of the universe, which can be encapsulated in a simple phrase, which is that you attract to you what you think about most. You become what you think about most. You attract what you think about most. And the reason this is important to understand this concept is that everything that we have talked about has been centered around the importance of thought, of thinking. If you go back to the original lessons that we started out with, you'll realize that I focus very heavily on talking about the importance of thinking. Dr. Hill talked about the importance in thinking about accurate thought, about separating fact from mere information, about determining relevant facts from irrelevant facts. And that takes thought. I talked with you about John Maxwell's teachings in the book Thinking for a Change. We talked about the fact that Dr. Hill, in one of the most popular books ever written in the history of the world, Think and Grow Rich. Notice he started off with think. And the end result, cause and effect, was growing rich. Now, rich is not just a monetary concept. Richness has to do not just with money, but with the quality of life that you get to live, with the quality of who you become. So thinking and growing rich has to do with the cause and effect relationship between understanding the power of thought and the end result of the rewards that come with understanding the power of thought. And so the law of attraction is very much a function of understanding the importance and power of thought. Most of us will never understand the power of our thoughts. And that's why we end up allowing ourselves to think all kinds of crazy things. Or we very rarely take the time to think at all. It's been described that thinking is one of the hardest one of the hardest jobs on the planet. And I believe that when you think about how few people actually take the time to engage in conscious and deliberate thought. Most of us get up in the morning and we have a routine. We get out of bed, we take a shower, maybe we turn on the television, we get dressed, we go to work, we come home, we go to lunch at lunchtime, we go back to work, we come home through rush hour traffic, we turn on the TV again, we read the mail. And during that period of time, we have thoughts that have come to us, but we are not doing anything with those thoughts. For the most part, it's just daydreaming, because we don't explore those thoughts any deeper than what the immediate situation may have been. We're easily distracted because we have no specific purpose for the day. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So if we look at boiling down what the law of attraction is about and what, more importantly, successful people have learned about it, the law of attraction is about thinking. It's about creation. It's about creating the circumstances that you want to have in your life and disabusing yourself of the notion that you live by fate. In other words, things happen to you that are out of your control and there's nothing you can do about them. The truth is that for those of us that understand the law of attraction, we realize that we have attracted in some fashion or another everything that happens in our lives. And that's actually an empowerment principle. Because if you can attract something into your life, and if you truly believe that, whether it be positive or negative, if it's negative, then you know that you can reverse that through changing your thinking, changing the way that you work with the law. And so, again, we don't have the ability to cover every nuance or everything about the law of attraction tonight. I simply want to encourage you to make it your mission to study and understand these principles, because you do have the power to work with this law and to create the circumstances that you want in your life. Now let's talk a little bit about some of these principles. I'm trying to see what's going on in the chat room here, and I'm having some difficulty with my interface here. Okay. Oh, thank you, Sylvia, for putting those key phrases into the chat room area. All right, so here's where we're going to start. I want to talk with you about some I'll call it, for lack of a better phrase, some attitude adjustment with respect to what we understand about thought and why it's important for us to understand thought. And then we're going to talk about the implementation of the law of attraction. And from there, we're going to talk about where we go with next steps. So let me start by, I'm going to be referring to a document that I printed out off the internet. This document comes from Earl Nightingale, who was a very prolific, very talented, very insightful, very cerebral personal development coach. He was one of the founders of Nightingale Conant, which is probably the largest personal development, self-improvement organization in the world. Earl Nightingale back in the 50s was on radio and teaching personal development before there were CDs and MP3 files and things of that nature. He used to record on LPs. If anyone knows what if there's anyone that doesn't know what an LP is, I should tell you how long ago it was that he was in the business of teaching people how to be successful. But one of his most acclaimed lessons was a lesson he called The Strangest Secret. And I'm going to be reading from a PDF download, a PDF ebook that was basically a transcript of him delivering his audio on The Strangest Secret. Now, if you'd like to hear the full audio, it's about 30 minutes long. You can go to YouTube, and if you type in The Strangest Secret, Earl Nightingale, you should be able to pull up his 50s recording of The Strangest Secret presentation that he gave to a group of insurance salespeople that he was at the time coaching or working with. So let me see if I can find my place here. Bear with me in just a moment. Okay. One of the things that's important to remember about the law of attraction, we talked about the fact that you become what you think about most. You attract to you what you think about most. And so if that's the case, then we have to first understand the importance of being conscious about what we choose to focus and give our attention to. You see, the law of attraction is basically a three-step process that brings to us whatever it is we choose to give our attention. So let's talk about ask, believe, receive. You see, when you choose to focus your attention on a particular subject matter or a particular item or something that's happening, you give attention to it. You're basically asking, you're putting out into the ether, if you will, out into the universe, the infinite intelligence, God, whatever you want to call it, a call for that thing. And by asking for that, you are starting a chain reaction through your thought process of attracting that to you. Now, see, here's the thing. The second step in this process is to believe it, to believe that that thing is coming to you in some fashion. And then the result is that you receive it. So ask, believe, receive. It's really a two-step process from your perspective, and the end result is the third step, which is that you receive what you asked for and believed would happen. So let me show you how this works. Your mind cannot differentiate between good and bad when it comes to what it brings you. It simply delivers what you order. Just like the UPS guy. The UPS guy, when he comes to your door, doesn't ask you, did you really mean to order this? He brings you whatever you've chosen to order. So what you ask for, you receive. Especially when you believe that it's coming. So let me show you how this works. When you choose to give your focus or your attention to negative things, typically you attract more negativity. And what happens is, as you focus and keep your attention on negativity, you begin to believe it. And when you believe in the negative things that you're thinking, that's what shows up in your life. Now, a lot of you will have a hard time accepting that. And I understand that, because when I first heard these principles, I had a hard time accepting it too, until I stopped to think about what was going on in my life, and more importantly, what wasn't going on in my life. Now, the opposite of that is also true. If you choose to give your attention to positive things, to positive thoughts, and you believe in that, you will receive what comes of those positive thoughts. I know that that sometimes can be difficult to understand, difficult to accept, probably more difficult to accept than to understand. But the truth is that most of us don't do it consciously enough to see the result of it, because most of us don't even understand that the law exists. So we're violating the law, or actually we're not violating, we're working with the law in a way that is to our disadvantage without even realizing it. And we don't allow ourselves to maintain focus on anything long enough for it to manifest in our lives. So I want you to understand that there is a scientific and mechanical process by which the law of attraction manifests things in your life. If you were to look at some of the people that you know that have a tendency to have a negative attitude, there's always a dark cloud over them. They're always complaining. They always have something that's not right in their lives. And it seems like that has gone on year after year, decade after decade for them. They have mastered the art of implementing the law of attraction, but they've done it to their disadvantage because they don't understand that the law does not differentiate between positive and negative. See, most of us want positive things, but we don't think in a positive way. If we have a monetary goal, most of us want to achieve wealth, but we don't think about it in a very healthy way. We don't think about it in a way that allows us to attract it. Some of us, frankly, have a negative relationship with wealth because we've been taught to feel guilty about wanting to be comfortable in life. We think it's greedy to want wealth. And I'm using wealth as an example only because a lot of the self-help books that have been written over the years have to do with the acquisition of wealth. Think and Grow Rich, for example. You know, the science of getting rich. But a lot of people don't understand that there's no dignity in being poor, being broke all the time. The truth is that if you acquire wealth and you have a worthy ideal that you're pursuing, that wealth allows you to accomplish that worthy ideal. And usually a worthy ideal is something that helps others. So what can be undignified about wanting to help others? So one of the things that we have to learn if we want to be successful with anything is how to change our relationship with our attitude towards wealth. Now, with that in mind, I want to zero you in on a couple of things as it relates to what it takes to be successful. Most of us have never really stopped to think about how we define success. And I'm going to share two definitions with you. One was from Dr. Hill, which we've already heard. And I think Dr. Hill defines success as being able to accomplish, and I'm paraphrasing, your definite chief aim without violating the rights of others. Being able to accomplish your definite chief aim without violating the rights of others. Now, I want to share with you Earl Nightingale's definition of success. And his definition of success is similar, but in his own words, a slightly different explanation. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Now, what does that mean? Well, for me, as I read that, it meant that someone is working continuously towards a goal, and they are constantly taking steps to make that goal happen. And as they take steps to make the goal happen, they're able to achieve more. They're able to achieve it. They get to where they're going because they have followed a roadmap. And that's what I understand the concept of success being tied to the progressive realization of a worthy ideal to embody. Now, that definition isn't very different from the definition that Dr. Hill has of success, which is achieving your definite chief aim, that's a goal, without violating the rights of others. Now, both of those definitions, I think, offer value in your life and what you're doing. But I'm going to focus right now primarily on Dr. Hill's definition, because Earl Nightingale actually addressed this in a slightly different way. And what Earl Nightingale realized in The Strangest Secret is that most people know and have experienced the power of their thoughts. And most people don't understand that it is the power of those thoughts that has them affecting their lives the way that they choose, the way that they're creating for themselves unconsciously. So he recognized that there are biblical basis for some of these things, that these are things that we have known over the years, that some of the greatest scholars and personal development people have known these things over the years. Every era has expressed something related to understanding the law of attraction and the power of our thoughts. In the Bible, we see it mentioned, as a man thinketh, so is he. We also hear people talk about, you become what you think about most of the time. You attract what you think about most of the time. And these are principles that have, basically been proven time and time again. If you look around you at what you're achieving, or even what you're not achieving, if you start to then think about, what am I focusing my attention on, you will find that there is a disconnect between what you want and what you choose to give your attention. And that is the law of attraction in action. So if we become what we think about most of the time, and if the definition of success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, or achieving your definite chief aim without violating the rights of others, the question becomes, do you have a worthy ideal that you're progressing towards? Do you have a definite chief aim that you're working towards? You see, what Earl Nightingale recognized in The Strangest Secret is that the people who are truly successful in life have something specific that they are working towards, a definite chief aim. He didn't use that phraseology, but that's what they had. They had a goal. Now, we've heard all the time about the importance of having goals and everything. But again, that's kind of common sense that doesn't become common practice for most of us. The truth is that if you don't have something specific that you are working towards at all times, then you're drifting. And it's the drifting that allows your mind to be focused on things that are not bringing you what you're worthy of. We become fearful when we have no goal. Our mind wanders, and we become resentful, and we're not achieving anything because we're basically treading water. We're basically running in place because we haven't decided where we want to go. We see others around us that are achieving. They're doing this. They're going there. They're accomplishing things. We haven't realized that they set goals for themselves and came up with a plan to pursue those goals. A progressive realization of a worthy ideal. That's what that means. If you are working towards something consistently, it has no choice but to manifest in your life as long as you remain focused and passionate about it. And frankly, the more passion you focus on what your ideal is, what your goal is, what your definite chief aim is, the faster it comes into manifestation in your life. Now, if you have not understood that that's the way it works, then that would explain why it's not happening for you. I'm here to tell you that once I started to understand this, it was amazing how quickly things happened that I wanted to move towards. And I'm not going to go through my story tonight with the things that I'm doing. I can only tell you that I'm living these principles as we speak. There are things that are happening in my business, in my life goal, my legacy for humanity, that are accelerating as I have gotten better at understanding the law of attraction. And it all starts with the quality of your thought and the amount of passion that you can bring to focusing on your thought, on being creative. And by being creative, I mean thinking about what you want with such passion and focus that it comes into your existence. It manifests in your existence. So, what I want to do right now, we talked about in Dr. in Wallace Wattles' book, The Science of Getting Rich, he referred very frequently to the concept of doing things in a certain way. And I have to confess that I did not understand that for the longest time, because I always equated doing things in a certain way, meaning a particular way, meaning like this way versus that way. And it took the longest time for me to realize that what Wallace Wattles was talking about when he said most people do things, but they don't do things in a certain way. It's not a matter of doing certain things. It's not a matter of doing certain things. It's a matter of doing things in a certain way. And what I finally realized is that it's not what you do, but the certainty with which you do it. And what I mean by certainty, it's faith. It's belief. That's why it's ask, believe, and you will receive. So certain way refers to deliberateness. It refers to having faith that it'll happen. Having faith that if you take the action, you will create the thing. And that is where most of us fail, because we don't have faith that we're capable. We don't have faith that we're competent. We don't have faith that we deserve to have better. We don't have faith that we are able to do these things. We feel instead that things happen to us rather than us creating the circumstances that cause things to happen. You see, if you realized that you have the ability to cause the things that are happening in your life by the thoughts that you think and the things that you do relative to those thoughts, then you would be a lot more deliberate about what you chose to think. I would think you would be anyway. And so understanding this principle, I realize that it's something that is very foreign to most of us, to accept this concept that our thoughts are powerful enough to create in our lives circumstances, conditions, and things that are directly tied to the thoughts that we've had. But I can tell you right now that that's exactly the way it happens. That is, in fact, the law of attraction. And I honestly don't know what the forces that cause that to happen are. I only know that that is the way it happens. So I don't question it. I work with it. And you could work with it. You're working with it whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not. You may not be consciously working with it. But if you study this material, if you take it upon yourself to accept this concept in a way that allows you to explore it objectively and learn how to use it in your favor, it's one of the most powerful things that you could ever seek to understand. There is literally nothing that you cannot accomplish if you use your mind creatively through the thought process and have enough passion and belief in your thoughts to allow it to manifest in your life. Now, so we covered ask, believe, receive. That's the two-step process that results in a cause and effect relationship between what you have thought, that's what you're asking for, believing, that's the faith part of it, and then receiving it. Ask, believe, receive. Pretty simple concept, but because of its simplicity, it often goes over people's heads. Now, everything else that we've learned, if you understand that simple two-step process and the end result of receiving, everything else that we've learned really relates to how we choose to give passion and faith to what it is we're seeking to create. Let me give you an example of that. For those of you that have seen the movie The Secret, probably the most important part of that entire movie was the last scene, the last clip, where Rhonda Byrne was using a stick to write and scribble in the sand a message on the beach. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but the words that she wrote in the sand were very simple. It was feel good. Feel good. You see, that emotional response of feeling good, putting yourself in a position to always feel good. Remove yourself from negative circumstances. When you find yourself in a position of thinking negatively, to shift your emotions to something that makes you feel good. That keeps your energy impressing upon the universe, impressing upon infinite intelligence or universal mind or gratitude in a way that attracts to you the right things instead of bringing you things that you don't want. I can tell you that the feeling good part of this is kind of the secret sauce. If you understand your thoughts and how your thoughts, if they're positive, allow you to feel hopeful, allow you to feel inspired, allow you to feel motivated, allow you to feel good, that's what causes you to do the things that bring into your existence, manifest into your existence what it is that you are thinking about most. And Rochelle's got this right. If the law of attraction is not working for you, it may be because the 11 forgotten laws that are almost also must be put into action. And Rochelle, actually, I'm referring to Rochelle Rogers. She is certified and trained in teaching this material through the Napoleon Hill Foundation. So this is a woman who really understands this stuff and who has actually prepared herself to teach others. So I would encourage you to reach out to her. Uh-oh. Someone said, for some reason, I've frozen on the screen. Can you still hear me? Are you still able? Let me know if you're still able to hear me, notwithstanding the fact that I've frozen on the screen. I don't know whether that is a problem or not, but let me know. I'm going to wait until I see what the response is to that. It's one thing if you can't see me, that's all right. But if you can hear the audio, that's what's more important. So someone please let me know if you can still hear my audio. Now, with that in mind, there is another realization that's tied to this. There have been studies and studies and studies that show that people who set goals are more likely to achieve their goals than people who simply have no goals. They used to refer to a Yale study on that and whatever, but the point is that Earl Nightingale in his teachings found this to be true. And I'm going to read directly from this passage. It's very powerful, very important. Oh, you can see and hear me now. Good. Glad to hear that. So what Earl Nightingale found as the differentiator between people who were achieving and people who were failing is this. The difference is goals. People with goals succeed because they know where they're going. It's as simple as that. Failures, on the other hand, believe that their lives are shaped by circumstances, by things that happen to them, by exterior forces. Think of a ship with a complete voyage mapped out and planned. The captain and the crew know exactly where the ship is going and how long it will take. It has a definite goal, and 9,999 times out of 10,000, it will get there. Now let's take another ship, just like the first, only let's now put the crew on it, or a captain at the helm. Let's give it no aiming point, no goal, no destination. We just start the engines and let it go. I think you'll agree that if it gets out of the harbor at all, it will either sink or wind up on some deserted beach or derelict. It can't go anyplace because it has no destination or guidance. Now that sounds like common sense, and it is. But you need to understand that most of us are that second ship. We get up in the morning and we go mindlessly to a job that most of us don't like. We spend time doing tasks and things at work in exchange for a paycheck, and then we come back home and start that whole process over the next day. And our only real goal is not to get fired, so that we can continue to live a subsistence living. We haven't given any thought to where we're really going. What are we really trying to accomplish in our career? Do we have a career? Or are we just earning a paycheck? So goals are important. Now, Earl Nightingale made another observation that I found very interesting. It was kind of an epiphany, a wake-up moment for me. And he said that society today can best be likened to a convoy in a time of war. A convoy meaning a convoy of ships. The entire society is slowed down to protect its weakest link, just as the naval convoy has to go at the speed that will permit its slowest vessel to remain in formation. And what we're saying there is that in a convoy, the slowest vehicle, in order to remain part of the convoy, has to have the rest of the folks that are in the convoy slow down to keep it from being separated. And that is exactly what happens in our society with human relationships, with human beings generally. Think about people who are underachieving, people who are failing to reach their full potential, especially those that don't understand the law of attraction. We find ourselves in a position as a society of having to subsidize and to help those people who are not helping themselves, not because they couldn't help themselves, but because they don't understand how to help themselves. And what I mean by that is that we perpetuate them in an existence that is not worthy of who they could be by slowing the rest of the wheels of progress down to accommodate their inability to keep up. Now, I don't want to be taken literally on that, and I don't want to be misquoted on that. But what I'm referring to is the fact that sometimes we find it easier to, or we think we're helping people by being charitable versus helping to inspire and empower them. Let me give you an example. We've all heard the phrase, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. That second process is an empowerment principle. And what we're talking about here is that instead of giving people things, we should take the time, if we really care, to teach them how to get those things that they desire without having someone have to give them to them. So I would rather teach men and women to fish than to fish for them. Because when I fish for them, they then become dependent on me for their fish. That's one of the reasons why here at Village Connector and Abundant Society, we're focused on teaching personal development principles that help people to empower themselves to do for themselves those things that they want to have done. You see, you never want to be dependent on whether someone else will fish for you. You should be seeking to establish and create and nurture your ability to fish for yourself. And if you really care about others, you should be investing in yourself to become the best you can be at who you are and what you do, so that you can then help other people to do the same for themselves. You see, that's why I love to be investing in programs that are uplifting to people rather than perpetuating them in their circumstances. When I see somebody standing on a street corner with a tin cup and a cardboard sign, I'd rather bring them in and teach them how to use the talent that they do have to be worthy of more. You see, throwing some change into their tin cup perpetuates them in their daily existence. It's not going to get them out of the need to be there tomorrow. I'd rather invite them to come over to the office and learn how they can do something that's going to put them in a position to be better tomorrow than they were today. And that's what we're teaching here at Village Connector. Now, with that in mind, if people who achieve have goals, a definite chief aim, and if you're seeking to achieve, do you think it might be a great idea for you to have a definite chief aim? I mean, think about this as we sit here. How many of you have been journaling for the past 20 weeks? You remember when we talked about what you go in your journal? A motivational quote, what you did today to advance yourself towards your goal, what you learned today, what you're grateful for, and the fifth thing, do you remember what it was? who you helped today? You see, I would be willing to bet that the vast majority of people who started this 25-something week journey with us have long ago stopped the journaling process. They've stopped tracking whether they're on track with their goal. Some of them may not have even established a goal to get started. And that's going to put them in the 95% of people who fail. Because it's only 5% of people that will take the time to establish the goal and then work towards it, progressively realizing that worthy ideal. So if you right now are no further towards a worthy ideal than you were back in February when we first got started, that's the problem. You didn't have a definite chief aim. You didn't have an intention to pursue something that was worthy of who you could be. I want to encourage you to stop doing that. The nice thing about the way the law of attraction works is once you become aware of it, you can stop the results of it if they're negative and turn them into positive by simply choosing to do so. Making the right choices. So I want to encourage you to do that. Stop today, go back to the second lesson in the Law of Success in 16 lessons, and establish your definite chief aim. Come up with your plan for how you're going to attain it, and think about who you're going to cooperate with to make it happen. That's the 3-step process that Dr. Hill laid out with respect to setting goals. Earl Nightingale talks about the same thing. Truly, every successful person, every success coach, every motivational speaker, they are in universal agreement with respect to the fact that we become what we think about most. So what are you thinking about today? What have you chosen to give your thoughts to? Eleanor Roosevelt said that great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. With that in mind, what were you giving your attention to today? Were you thinking about ideas? Were you worried about events taking place around you? Or worse, were you gossiping? I would encourage you that if you were gossiping, to shift your focus and get an idea. Get something that's worth working towards. Whatever the goal may be, work towards a goal. And stop putting yourself in a position to be drifting in whatever direction the wind chooses to take you. So, Earl Nightingale recognized another principle which comes to play here, and that principle is, as ye sow, so shall ye reap. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. And what he recognized in that context is that the human mind is kind of like a farmer's land. It doesn't differentiate between fruit and poisonous vine. If you plant a seed in the land and you nurture it, it will grow regardless of whether it's good or bad, regardless of whether the consequences of it to you are negative or positive. And that's why a lot of times you have to be focused on the seeds that you're planting in your mind or planting with your mind, because that's what you're going to manifest. So this is why people say that you become what you think about most. And the problem for most of us is we don't appreciate, as I said, the power of our minds. So I want to read another passage that Earl Nightingale shared. The problem is that our minds come as standard equipment at birth. And things that are given to us for nothing, we place little value on. Remember, your mind was free. You didn't have to buy it. You didn't have to expend money or invest in it. Things that we pay money for, we value. The paradox is that exactly the reverse is true. Everything that's really worthwhile in life came to us free. Our minds, our souls, our bodies, our hopes, our dreams, our ambitions, our intelligence, our love of family and children and friends and country. All these priceless possessions are free. But the things that cost us money are actually very cheap and can be replaced at any time. A good man can be completely wiped out and make another fortune. He can do that several times. Even in our home, even if our home burns down, we can rebuild it. But these things we got for nothing, we can never replace. Now think about this. Think about how much money and or time you've invested in things like houses, cars, vacations, doodads, fancy electronic devices. If you were to add all that up in the course of a year, there's a lot of people that their car payment is more than their mortgage payment. And their mortgage payment is more than they will ever invest in themselves. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to stop and think about how much you have invested in stuff, cars, houses, whatever it might be, in material things. And then I want you to just get a figure for that and write that down on a piece of paper. And then next to that figure, I want you to write down how much you have invested in developing your mind. How much have you invested in personal development? When was the last time you went to a workshop or a seminar to develop your mind? When was the last time you read a good book? When was the last time you listened to a CD or a tape or something that was an investment in you individually? You see, most of us are completely out of balance when it comes to our balance sheet of materialism versus investing in ourselves as individuals, in our minds, spirituality. Now, again, these are difficult principles for some of us to accept because usually we're out of balance in that regard. And we don't like to acknowledge that. It's not comfortable sometimes for us to realize that we are not doing the things that we should be doing. But that's exactly why we're not getting the results that we should be getting. So if you're being totally transparent and honest with yourself, you now should be able to shift your energy back to something that's going to get you on track to where you want to go with a plan for how you're going to get there. And all you have to do is to change your mind. Literally, change your mind, meaning change the way you choose to think, change the way you choose to look at the world, start understanding the power of your thoughts, and the circumstances that you begin creating your life will be in your favor instead of against you. You see, most of us don't invest in ourselves at the level that we expect results. We want to be wealthy, but we don't want to do the homework. We don't realize that wealth is a function of the quality and quantity of service that we deliver to others. Wealth is wealth is the result of the quality and quantity of service that we deliver to others. That's why a lot of people want to be wealthy, but they want to do that by sitting on the couch watching The Simpsons and hoping that they win the lotto. The point I'm trying to make to you is that the way that you offer quality service, the way that you offer value to others is by becoming better at who you are and what you're capable of doing. Your paycheck typically reflects the size of the problems you're able to solve for people. That's right. Your paycheck typically reflects the size of the problem that you're able to solve for people. So if you want a larger paycheck, if you want to make more, if you want to attain more compensation for yourself, you have to become capable of doing more for others, whether it's in an employment relationship, a consulting relationship, or otherwise. You see, all the truly successful people in life have found a way to come up with an idea that enriched the lives of others. Bill Gates came up with the idea for a computer operating system that has made everyone on this planet more productive. Everyone that touches a computer has become more productive. Everyone whose life, which is everyone on the planet, whose life is touched in some fashion by the use of technology, has been enhanced by Bill Gates' idea for an operating system called Microsoft Windows. Now think about that. When was the last time you had an idea? Have you ever had an idea? Have you ever pursued your idea? That's the problem. Steve Jobs came up with an idea for a communications device that made it simple and easy for people to communicate with each other and accomplish tasks that were important to them. That's what the iPhone does. And he attained great wealth because the quality and quantity of service that he delivered through the creation of the iPhone was incredible. That's the power of ideas. So one of the things you have to remember is that people will pay you more for your ideas than they will for your labor. So if you're not focused on a worthy ideal, on a goal, on having ideas, then you're virtually destined to continually be in a position of underachievement. There's no other way to describe it. So what I want you to understand is that the law of attraction is about the quality of your thought and your faith that using thought, using your mind, you can create the circumstances that you wish to have in your life. There's no better way to describe it than that. Using your mind, you can create the circumstances that you wish to have in your life. Now, whether you can accept that, I know that that is true. I know that I'm learning how to get better and better at using the law of attraction, using the universal law of attraction to create the circumstances that I want in my life. And here's the good news. You don't have to be perfect at it. Nobody is. But if perfection were a requirement, you could create that too. The good news is that perfection doesn't have to be done with precision, with perfection. It has to be done in a certain way with faith, but you don't have to be perfect at it. Now, I want to make an offer to you. Bear with me for just a minute. I'm just checking through my notes to see if there's anything else that we wanted to share. And that offer is very simple. I want to invite you to stay on and stay in this conversation with me and with others who are making it their mission to invest in themselves at the level that they expect results, to invest in themselves through personal development, to invest in themselves by making a conscious decision to engage in deliberate thought on a continuous and daily basis, and to surround themselves and be in the company of other people who are making that their mission. So the offer is this. I'd like to invite you, if you haven't already done so, to join and to participate actively in our free social network, Abundant Society. Abundant Society is the platform, it is the community that we have created to give small, not small business owners, to give everyone an opportunity to be in the company of others who are seeking to understand and master the law of attraction, to master these success principles that we've studied in the Law of Success in 16 lessons, to invest in themselves through personal development and be in the company of others who are committed to that as well. If you have not already done so, please take a moment when we wrap up tonight, and we're almost done here, please take a moment when we wrap up tonight to go over to AbundantSociety.net, AbundantSociety.net, and set up a personal profile for yourself. It's free. We're not going to bait and switch you or anything like that. I'm basically inviting you to be connected to me permanently, continuously, so that we can have a dialogue, so that we can support each other, so that we can nurture each other and support each other's desire to be better tomorrow than we were today. So if you go to AbundantSociety.net, you can set up a profile right now, and I probably won't get a chance to approve them until tomorrow, but we actually approve everyone that comes in because we're being relatively selective about who we choose to associate with, because we want to be around people who have the right energy, the right intentions, people who are looking forward to working with us and not against us. And so when you do set up your profile, just realize that it's going to take probably 24 hours or less for me to approve your profile, but it will give you the opportunity to be in the company of others who are having this discussion with each other on a consistent basis. Now, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity and the privilege of sharing these principles with you. I hope that you have found some value in some of the things that we've discussed. I realize that it was a lot of information to share, which is why I'm going to encourage you to go back and start again. I'm about to begin my 11th reading in 10 years of The Law of Success in 16 Lessons, and each time I've read it, I've gotten deeper insight into what the teachings really mean. Each time I read the Master Key System, each time I read the Science of Getting Rich, I get deeper insight into what the lessons really mean. One of the reasons for that is that over the course of these 25 weeks that we've been together, I have changed. I have matured. I've gotten better at who I am. And that getting better has allowed me to see things that I didn't see 25 weeks ago in these same lessons that we've been covering week after week after week. That will happen for you too if you choose to start from the beginning and travel the journey again. The Law of Success in 16 Lessons is the kind of book you could read every year for the rest of your life and get something new and more important out of it every single time. I commend you to do that. I don't command you to do it. I recommend that you do it because I know that it offers value in your life. So let me know if you do decide to do it, though, because like I said before, we're going to be over at Abundance Society, and you're either going to be there with us or you won't, and I certainly hope that you will be, because it would be nice to know that we're working together to improve quality of life for ourselves individually and for our communities by investing in ourselves together. That's what community is all about, and that's what the Village Connector community stands for. Change yourself, change the world. And if we can do it together, many hands make light work. If everyone does a little, no one has to do a lot. We invite you to come and join us and do your part to make for a better world. So on behalf of Village Connector Media, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share these principles with you over this time period that we've been together. I certainly hope that I'll have the opportunity to continue this dialogue with you. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you very much. I'll look forward to seeing you soon.